Sorry about that. We got cut off before. We will start the preface. It's just the way it happens sometimes, I guess. Cheers. It's really good green tea without Viola Life creamer. It's yummy. Preface in A Journey Round the World. The journey described in this book was the longest that my wife and I had ever made. We had the time to make it because we had just retired from our posts at the Royal Institute of International Affairs in London. My wife had been on the staff of the Institute for 34 years and I for 33. So we had to start out on a new chapter of life, and the most promising start seemed to be to launch ourselves on a long journey on which we should meet people and see places that were already familiar to us from our work, but only at second hand. To meet someone face to face and to see a landscape with one's own eyes is worth more than volumes of letterpresses, photographs, and maps. The journey was a strenuous one, but it was very rewarding. We came back with new friendships and new knowledge that will be precious possessions for us for the rest of our lives. The account here given of some of the things that we saw and did is a collection of articles written en route for the Observer. This is a paper for which it is a pleasure to write. I am most grateful to the editor for the permission to republish the articles in a book. A connected account of our journey in summary form will be found in the itinerary at the end of the volume and on the accompanying map. The book itself does not give a continuous narrative. There are experiences, such as that of passing through the Panama Canal, that are interesting when one has not had them before, but that are too familiar to many people to justify another description of them. One's first sight of Canberra and New Delhi is interesting too, but all the world now visits these two recently laid out capital cities. One might as well give a description of Washington, D.C. For the same reason, Riyadh, a remarkable new city, still fast going up, is the only capital city out of a number visited on this journey that I have attempted to describe, apart from a few sentences about Quito and Bangkok. On the whole, the capital cities of the present-day world are much of a muchness, and are fast becoming much of a muchness, and are fast becoming harder to distinguish from one another. Damascus, new as well as old, is a brilliant exception, but Damascus too is familiar. So are Petra and Palmyra, but not perhaps Bordeaux or Angkor. So I have left the first two undescribed and have given accounts of the other two. Though for my wife and me, who have never seen any of these four wonderful places before, it would be difficult to say which of them we found the most fascinating. On the whole, I have pressed lightly over the towns and have dwelt on the countryside, which is mostly less well known and is, I should say, much more interesting. Our journey was made financially possible by a grant which the Rockefeller Foundation of New York had given to us jointly for the purpose of traveling with a view to revising my book. Called A Study of History. On this grant from the Rockefellers, we had previously visited Mexico, and we look forward to making further journeys. thanks to it. On the present journey, our first objective was to visit Asian countries and Latin American countries, which, like Mexico, have a predominantly non-European population. I had also had the honor of being invited by the Australian Institute of International Affairs and the Australian universities to be one of their annual lecturers on the Diocesan Trust, and by the American University of Beirut to be a visiting professor on its campus. These two invitations fitted in happily with our plans for travel on the Rockefeller Grant. This grant, together with the diocesan lectureship and the visiting professorship at Beirut, made it possible for us to go around the world. We traveled from east to west. This way round lengthens one's nights instead of shortening them, and that is an important consideration when one is traveling hard. We timed our journey so as to be in Australia during the southern hemisphere winter, and in India during the northern hemisphere one. In both planning the journey and carrying it out, we owe more than we can say to the British Council. Without the help of the British Council's central office in London and of its representatives and other officers overseas, it would have been impossible for us to accomplish what we did. In every country in which the Council operates, it made the wheels go round for us. If we managed to stand up to the strain of a formidable program, that was thanks to the kindness, hospitality, and efficiency with which the Council came to our aid. I hope that the lectures that I had the pleasure of giving under the Council's auspices were a partial quid pro quo. We cannot express the gratitude that we feel. If I set out merely to name the members of the Council staff whose individual acts of kindness we remember gratefully, the list would fill several pages and more. But I could not refrain here from thanking Mr. J.B.S. Jardine, the Council's representative in Baghdad, for his goodness to us when my wife fell ill while we were his guests. We are also very grateful to a number of other people, institutions, and governments for hospitality and facilities. For instance, the governments of Ecuador, New Zealand, Indonesia, Vietnam, India, Pakistan, Syria, and Jordan, the Casa de Cultura Educacionatoria, the Peruvian Corporation, the International House of Japan, the Indian Institute of World Affairs, Aramco, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, and an array of distinguished universities. It is perhaps invidious to single out the names of individuals when so many others have also done so much for us. Yet I cannot publish this book without here thanking Senora Escalon-Villa, in whose hospitable house I stayed in Cartagena, Mr. Louis Stumner, who was my genial host and traveling companion in Peru, Miss Nancy Dickens, the Secretary of the Australian Institute of International Affairs, Miss Badagargio of the Cultural Department of the Ministry of Education in Jakarta, Mr. and Mrs. Shingaru Masumoto of the International House of Tokyo, Professors Nabi Amin Faris and Zine Zeni of the American University of Beirut, and Professor Yar Shatir of the University of Tehran, who was my traveling companion on a number of memorable expeditions in Iran. But words of thanks are inadequate The best way for us to show our gratitude will be by trying to turn to some account all that we have learned through the disinterested help that we have received from a very large number of people all around the world. The memory of this kindness is the most precious part of the mental cargo that we have brought back with us to England. We'll read some more later. Gonna finish our tea, and my son requested tacos, so we'll have to make those. Well, I don't have to, but I would love to, because he requested them, so I know it's gonna make him happy, and that makes me happy. So I'm gonna enjoy making him his tacos. I may even whistle while I do it. It's heart opening. Go down to go up. Yes, and as always, we really do hope that our State Department people start to acknowledge the facts and concerns about the vaccine-injured children, neurologically damaged children, from a number of things, vaccine overload. The infectious disease specialist was actually very careful to say it wasn't just the vaccines. You know, we get damaged from a lot of different things. Yeah, so it'd be good to recognize those things instead of ignoring it and just continuing to pump them full of poisons and toxins that are making other people sick. Yeah, instead of allowing them to send sick punks after us because they think we're going to kill other people for not vaccinating. It's been absolutely disgusting and disturbing, and to see innocent people getting taken out literally along the way. There's no words, so hopefully people are going to get real here soon. Much love, health, and peace out.